All right. It is now time for raising funds for World Domination, day 125. So once again, for the standard intro, we've got no updates on the word eviction situation. And as we've been doing for the last at least 40 days or so, we'll be working toward the next release of the terminal block mining simulation game. I had been working on another long form video during the day, and today I did not accomplish anything on that because I actually spent today working on the pink color theme that someone requested last night. There was a few. I actually decided to just kind of refactor some around how some of the color codes are written. So if I want to, I can actually support like color themes a bit more easily. Great news here. Rent is falling in Canada and America. Yes, it is here, and that's one of the factors. I think that will be. Well, it already seems like they've kind of let up on the pressure. Things have been a bit. There hasn't been as much chaos in the past few months in terms of them trying to bug tenants and all the. There's way more drama in the first year after they took over, but there was a guy here managing the place, and he's not here anymore. And now it's calmed down a bit more. And I think now that some of the financial incentive has gone away, they may they've already lost some of the other buildings, so we'll see. But I also heard that apparently they lost and then they just refiled the N13 like immediately afterward. But then again, if they do, unless they found another issue, if they just like that at that point they're like basically abusing, you could say they're vexatious litigant or something if they're actually if they just copy and paste the same thing. But anyway, we'll come to that if it becomes necessary. Yoshikaga Kira says what? I'm not sure what the what is reference to. Is that something I was saying in my update, or is that about the rent thing? Yeah, so today we'll continue with I'll demo the pink color theme support. That's working, I believe, and we'll work on fixing this top left corner test printing, and there's a few remaining glitches. Those are the last few remaining regressions, and then I'll be back to at least feature parity with the last version, but it's unfortunately slower, so we got to do some profiling to make it faster. Android is blocking side-loading apps starting from 2026. It's becoming an iOS clone. Honestly, I don't even know if I've I don't think I've ever even side-loaded an app. I don't really do much I don't really do anything outside the ordinary on my phone. Interesting. That's an example of a printing glitch. So that latest version works. So if you want to change the color theme, right now you can't change it. There's no way to change it in the game. You have to recompile. So you just change that to pink, and then the whole color scheme should be pink theme now. Actually, that was kind of an interesting find last night. I've spent quite a bit of time scanning the documentation for it's hard in the eyes. I'm looking at the documentation for ANSI escape sequences, and I never realized that there is an ANSI escape sequence to just like specify arbitrary RGB values. Yeah, so there we go. There's a pink theme terminal block mining simulation game. If Android is going to become poor iOS, then it deserves to lose its market share. Yeah, I guess, I don't know, because of my habits, I guess I honestly don't even use my phone too much these days. I spend most of my time on desktop. The puke green reminds me of Atari. Yeah, the default green, I specified, like the default color theme is specified to work on, as part of like the regular 8, like the, what would it be? Yeah, 4-bit color or whatever. So that's one of the like the most basic globally supported colors, because like this pink theme would not work in pure TTY. Pink theme is real. I thought you just applied an effect. Screenshot. Nope, it's totally authentic. Yeah, someone asked for it last night, so I was like, yeah, you know, I probably could. And I changed a couple like constant values. Then I was like, because for specifying the pink, it's like a non-standard. It's not part of like the regular color palette, so I have to just honestly it's hard to find clear instructions on like how to actually compose these, compose the ANSI escape sequences. But what you have to do is, well, let's take a look at it. Yeah, so the standard. So a standard escape sequence is basically like this. It's or what is it? When X2E, I think 2E, and then opening bracket, and then the form is so this here is like just an escape character, and then you fit a bracket. And the reset color is just 0M. And so the 0 just means reset. And then if you type like 30, that'll give you black. 31 will give you red foreground. And you can put any number of semicolons. So like, actually I'm not sure what that would do with empty ones, but so if you want to do yeah, red foreground, and then like green foreground. That, I think that would just overwrite one of those would overwrite the other. I don't remember what the order is, but putting a 4 in it, that would make it background color. And so each of these specifies one specific foreground color, but 38 if you make it 38, then the meaning behind that is you can select it. So there's two ways to do it. There's you can use the number 5 there, and then there's one, I forget the encoding method, but if you just do 2, the number 2, now you could do an RGB triplet. So you just take like your, HTML RGB value, and then you can just directly write the values so that the next, so I'm not sure what C0 is, but like for that one there, that would be like 38 to 55. So that's the first, that's the red value. And B7, whatever, 200 or something. Or say 201, whatever that is. C5. I don't know, 235 or whatever C5 translates to. And then that would be, this would be your ANSI code for that color. So I just had to do a bit of refactoring to make that work, because my assumption assumed that these were kind of like independent values, so you could just put anywhere in the array, but I had to make it kind of make it selectable. I had to put them in functions, and then now I have to concatenate together the integer array so I can select the background and foreground independently. But that paves the way for more color themes. Text is unreadable. Yeah, it's not very. I guess it could use some tweaking, but proof of concept. I probably won't bother with more modes for now. It's just but the infrastructure is there when the demand is. Unplayable without chart reuse mode. I never heard of that. Yeah, that's good that I figured that RGB thing out. I actually don't really like this color theme. I want the black to be like a solid black, and I want the green to be like a solid green. That would be my preference, but it doesn't. In order to use like the standard built-in colors, that I can only specify green, and then whatever the system green is, that's what it is, or whatever it is in GNOME terminal. All right. So all right, so that's the case I want to fix. I was thinking about this, and there might be a very simple way to fix that. Chart. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Chart reuses is color. Comment is pure sarcasm. I assume it probably is. I guess I won't know until I Google that color. It's pronounced chartreuse. It must be French. Might be French. Ain't they speaking French there in Canada? Mainly in Quebec. And also, actually, New Brunswick is another. Actually, I think New Brunswick is the only officially bilingual province. And then Quebec is unapologetically French. And then everywhere else is English. And also everything is different in Quebec. Like if you look up any kind of tax law or business thing, or like pension plan, or like literally anything to do with the government, it'll say like, except for residents of Quebec. Then have this totally different thing. even use this? Oh, neat. I was not even using that. Now, with any luck, that change will fix everything. We might have a winner. Congrats on Pink block mining release. It's yeah, I guess I don't have it like an official release for it, but it's available on GitHub. You can, if you clone it, if you want to test it out, it's in yeah. All you have to do is just change this to Pink, and then compile this and build. And then it should work. There's no way to in game to change it, but that paves the way for future updates that'll have other kinds of themes. Don't know if I actually have Java SDK installed. Yeah, I guess for now you can just there's not a lot of content in the game, so it's probably until it gets a bit more interesting, it's probably anything, whatever you see on stream is good enough. Maybe a loot box can randomly change theme to pink. Yeah, it's possible. The possibilities are endless. Okay, I think I'm going to keep that change. Now I also have a feeling I should probably remove references to that function. least my sophisticated occlusion rules are working. So the menu cuts the emoji character in half. So now it's smart enough. The logic for that was fairly complicated. So it has to like detect that there's an occlusion there, turn that into a space, and then inherit the color behind it. Victoria's Secret would probably want to sponsor a pink block mining game. They could. Just to be sure they're on a good side of world domination. Yeah, I think that would be good advice for them. Yeah, if only I can start I need to start a social movement, and then it could be like cancel culture. If you don't support the current social trend of the block mining simulation game, you'll get canceled on Twitter, and then everyone will become a channel member. There'll be lots of funding for future development. Twitter is toast. It's owned by slightly non-liberal car manufacturer. I don't know. What do the metrics say? I don't follow the stats, but it seems like there was Blue Sky that started up. But last I heard that the active users on Blue Sky is decreasing. So I haven't. I'm not sure what the latest metrics are. Television J3H says, what's your thoughts on infra DevOps compared to software engineering career-wise? Infra/DevOps. I guess those terms could mean a lot of different things in different companies. I would say like when someone, and let me know if you have a different interpretation, but when someone says DevOps, I think about like the on-call people. So people who are getting like tickets and bugs, and they're like, this thing is broken in production. Like, the database is stuck in it. There's a transaction stuck open, and then it's 3 a.m. and you're DevOps, so you've got to like figure this out, get the system back up. So if that kind of DevOps, or like investigating and debugging stuff, I would say job security for something like that is probably high, or maybe not job security, but like career security is probably high, because there's always going to be like that kind of stuff is like, I'm sure there's some managers like, oh, let's use AI to solve that stuff, and then it'll be like, okay, you just like delete the data or like reboot the database or something, and then lose all the data or whatever. That kind of stuff is always going to be best done by a human who can go in and like review the situation and possibly escalate. And because sometimes when you go in and inspect a system like that and you're like, oh, this is not fixable, we have to address this, we have to wake up the developer or something. Software engineering. Software engineer itself is so broad now. There's so if you want to do like junior web developer for React JS for JavaScript frameworks, I'd say that's a very brutal industry right now. When people ask about it, I've said stuff like maybe going more towards like embedded systems might be better for job security, but the number of jobs that exist there is probably lower. So I don't know what the state of hiring in that industry is, but I do know that's like it's a higher barrier to entry. So if you get into that field successfully, I think there's a higher likelihood you can stay in it. Whereas if you just get some like run-of-the-mill web dev thing, the probability you get laid off randomly is, I think, higher than if you get a job as like an embedded systems developer at like a router manufacturing company or something. Google AI account 1 says beep. Where's the boop? Gives you JRE, not JDK. Yeah, all that stuff confuses me. Like I think if you download JDK, you also get a JRE as well. And also the Java version numbering confused me for the longest time. It was like 1 point something for a long time, but then they just changed it to like, it was like 1.17, and then they changed it to like 17. And no one told me this, so I was confused for a long time. Don't get me started. Java ME apps for old school cell phones using Rex OS. Never heard of that. Still 1.8 something. All right. There's the boop. Uses Java ME. Java has a lot of lore to it. So interestingly, removing all those clears breaks it again. There's a tech summit I'll be going to. Any advice on securing internships as student? Advice on securing internships. I guess if you're going to like some kind of convention thing. I don't really have a lot of experience securing internships at those kinds of things. I guess probably the best general advice would be just go to the event, make contact, try to have a conversation of at least a few minutes with someone there, and try to get some contact information of someone in the company, and then just like I think the thing that will be successful is just it's being the right person at the right time and being available. So like if you have the skill they're looking for and you're the one that actually follows up, like I'd say probably most candidates would just like not follow up and like they maybe take the card or something and then just not I guess I'm not sure how those places would work. Like I think the reality of a lot of those places is that recruiting is very dysfunctional. So they hire like a professional recruiter who doesn't really know anything about the job or the company, and then that person like interacts with hundreds of people and loses the contact information and like says like, hey, let's get started, and then they forget and don't respond to you or something, or like another better candidate comes along and then they're like, that other candidate was okay, but we'll probably hire this other one. But then if you like actually email and take the initiative, then they'll be like, oh yeah, I forgot about that guy. Then you still stay in the pool of consideration, whereas otherwise you'd be forgotten about. So just being, I guess, persistent and respectful with the largest number of places you can. I think the most ideal scenario is if you can like make contact with and maybe start an email conversation with an actual like manager. Like if you could talk to the prospective person who you'd be working for. But I think in very many cases you'll talk to some recruiter who just has a list of buzzwords, and then they hire based on that, and then the person hiring you and evaluating you is not even the person that you don't even they're not even your manager. That would probably be typical, par for the course. Be a person people want to be around. Yeah, that's good advice. Although I guess it's not necessarily sufficient. A lot of it's just a numbers game. Entire hiring process, such a mess from both ends. Nothing but noise. I mean, eventually, I would have to hope it like we have all this technology and AI and stuff. Why does all this stuff get worse over time? Like it's always been terrible. Even back when I was, doing like cramming for memorizing notation and doing whiteboard interviews and stuff. People hated that back then, and now it's even worse. AI actively makes it worse. Yeah, people are like, oh man, AI is going to make so much productivity. Meanwhile, you have like AI spewing out garbage and then we use AI to filter the garbage. So we just have all these garbage AIs talking to each other. Hiring manager has to actually read all the resumes. Decide who to screen. What if they're all AI? Random sample. Yeah, the whole process is just, it's not good. Eventually, I think eventually something will have to get better. Because eventually someone will just figure out like a better, well, I don't know, we'll have, like it'll be something totally different. It'll be like it'll be like, you know, actually I think what could be a decent way to recruit is just set up a Minecraft server and then have like a Discord server, and then just be like, the way that you apply is just join the Discord, and then we'll all play Minecraft together and like read, and we'll build some redstone contraptions, and then just chat, and then that's the interview. Like, to me, that sounds like the future of interviewing to me. And it wouldn't surprise me if companies did that, and then it was like way more, it was like the best candidates ever came from that method. And then everyone would just start doing it. Or in the terminal block mining simulation game. Now make a compact XOR gate. The best candidate should arm wrestle the hiring manager. That would be another one. You could have like a boxing match where you have to fight your employer, and then if you can defeat him in the ring, then you get a job. So that also fixed the performance issue. But it's all crazy now. as bad as that is, I think I'll keep that change. Why does that end up with So it initializes the frames. So the yellow stuff that shows up, those are nulls. There's all kinds of race conditions that I need to think about. Unfortunately. So I think this is initializing it, but this doesn't actually get written all the time. So it will get written if initialized frames come through here, but if it's from here, it won't. American here. How would you compare Canadian job market to the U.S.? I'd have difficulty authoritatively answering that because I'm not actively out there grinding for stuff. I've heard it's always like going back to when we were in boom times. It was always worse in Canada than universally your prospects were worse in Canada than in America. And that's why pretty much everyone I graduated with moved to the U.S. almost immediately. There are a small number of decent positions. There were a few good students that I knew, a handful of students that were pretty good who stayed here in Canada. Google has a campus just down the road over there. I'm not sure how many people work there. There's probably a few thousand or something. Or I don't know. Would it be that much? So there is a presence for those big companies, but it's way more competitive up here. In terms of like anecdotal reports I've heard from people who are looking, like I know someone who's been looking for, who's not in software, but they're in like another technical field, and they've been looking like, and I know them, they're not lazy. They've been putting out like hundreds, like they've up to like 700 resumes or something out. Now they currently have a job, but it's the prospects for this job are not great, and they keep having like financial problems, and they're like, we're going to give you a bonus, and then they never give them a bonus. And they're thinking about leaving and going somewhere else. But they've been like pretty actively looking for a better job that pays better, and the wage for this job is such that with inflation, I think they were telling me that they calculated this year they're actually going to be losing money having a job. A lot of talented people in many fields from Canada, but a lot fewer people. Yeah, we do have good educational institutions. I mean, recently we also have a lot of diploma mills. That has starting in like 2015. That kind of like it ramped up, and it was kind of like a novelty. Now, or actually, I didn't even know if they were tamping down on it, but like circa 2013 or something, it was just completely out of control. And I think the quality of it, education across the board has kind of gone down, but we still do have some really good educational institutions. University of Waterloo, University of Toronto, they have a pretty huge student body. A lot of them were like when I went to university, the majority of my class in university, I'd say probably about 2/3 was like, it's hard to articulate. It's not like, they were not like European white Canadians. A lot of them were like second generation immigrants, and they were all like very, very highly skilled. They were like very acclimated to Canadian culture and customs. A lot of them were. It really was kind of like best and brightest from around the world. But even some of the more prestigious institutions in like over the last decade, it's just been this slow decline of like completely abolishing standards, and they just that's not quite true of Waterloo or Toronto, but I do think like they got rid of, when I went to University of Waterloo, we had the LP exam, which was this English language proficiency exam, and it was apparently like it was difficult enough that even some native English speakers did poorly on it. and everyone, regardless of who you were, had to take it, and they eventually dropped that entirely, and the language proficiency requirements have been going steadily, just seems like it's going down every single year. And I don't know, I'm not sure what's going to happen long term, because I haven't even really thought about the impact of AI. I think that's really disrupting universities at the moment. And I mean, with back to your question about the job market, I mean, the question is how is the current job market going to impact enrollment? I really wonder what higher education is going to look like in 10 years. Like, I'm sure people are still going to be enrolling for the next few years, but what about 10 years from now? Yeah, I guess compared to US, historically it's been way easier to find a qualified tech job in the US than in Canada. I have no idea whether it is now. They've also changed like visa requirements and stuff. It used to be super. It was in my program, that was like one of the primary virtues of that co-op program is it was very easy to get a visa, and we had tons of resources to help us get the visa down to the US. But I have no idea if that's more difficult now. Sorry about random questions. How would you access a quality programmer, or define a good one? Like how well they can debug code. Yeah, I would say the ability to, if you're going to pick one thing that they have, would it be the ability to debug code or just write lots of broken code? Definitely you want someone who can debug stuff. There's a lot of people that can write. I went to school with lots of people who just had the ability to churn out a kind of broken prototype of something. But then as soon as you ask them to do a deep dive and figure out why something doesn't work, they can't do it because they've only learned how to build, write stuff from scratch for 1,000 lines, and then they just throw it away and start the next project from scratch. But I guess if you're asking about hiring advice for finding a quality programmer, I don't know. It's hard to give a good answer. I don't know your background. Isn't it hacking? Is the original sense quick hacks unstructured code that just kind of works? Yeah, I guess you could call it hacking. I think maybe the ability to build something quickly is also kind of independent from the ability to debug it. Some people can make a prototype fast, but only a certain subset of them can actually debug it. I've gotten better debugging while watching your streams. No, that's good. I never really considered that a consequence of what I'm producing. I meant like jobs ask over lead code, but that's an awful way to check for someone's knowledge. If they can debug existing code, right? I think it's something that employers should be filtering for, but they're not. It's really a different thing to be able to do lead code, and then it's another thing entirely to come onto when you start your first day in corporate, you'll probably be given access to some massive code base, and you have to navigate other people's code, and you also have to learn the abstractions and stuff that other people have designed. So in lead code, everything mental structures and stuff that you have to analyze are purely algorithmic. They're intrinsic properties of the universe. They're all just pure math, so it makes sense. It's logic, and that there is an objectively correct way to do it. But when you go into a system, the system was designed by humans, some of whom make bad decisions and cut corners sometimes to meet deadlines and stuff. So when you work on an existing code base, you have to deal with figuring out a lot of that stuff. And that is a skill that is independent from lead code skill. Many people have both. Some people have one or the other. And there's people who, most people are reasonable, but a handful of people also don't really have the social skills to integrate into the team, and they might be not okay with other people committing things that are not the optimal efficiency according to lead code or something, but it may be irrelevant or inappropriate to bother pushing for that. So you got to get the error code through code reviews and stuff, and it's not clear why those nulls are getting through. Do you always code in Vim in just terminal? It's where I prefer to code. I do sometimes I have to. It makes sense to just step through in the debugger, and I've started using IntelliJ recently. Other than that, I do just stick to Vim. Much faster to navigate around, I find. As a newbie, I stopped using IDE. That suggested me code. Is this a good idea? I stopped using IDE. That suggested an not sure what that part means. That suggested me code in general, but stopping using an IDE. So the difference, one of the big differences is Vim opens like instantly, and it takes like a couple megabytes of memory, whereas this is like an old slow computer. And if I won't do it right now, but if I try to open this, it takes me like 1 minute to open it, and it's to like index all the files and garbage. But with Vim, I just I can just immediately go like that, and now I'm in the file, and now I do Shift G, and I'm at the end of the file, and I can do the percent thing to go to the top bracket, and I can type slash, and I can go through the references where I'm iterating over the used. Used items. I can, if I remember a piece of the code, I can do slash to get to it quick. I would say each of these things is like a tool. So personally, I like Vim for navigating around quickly. The disadvantage it has is I don't get I think NeoVim has this. I've yet to try it, but like if I do dot here, I don't get any suggestions, whereas in the IDE, you do. Now I try to actually kind of pick the best parts of both. So if I'm just writing a bunch of code quick and navigating on something simple, it's easier to do in Vim. But if I write like a whole bunch of code that has a bunch of errors, it's much easier to like write all the code in Vim and then open the same file in the IDE and then just like fix all the errors from there. And there's probably some specific types of like refactoring, like where you could say like rename all references or something. Whereas in Vim, you'd have to use like, in the command line, you'd have to use like set or something, which I'm actually kind of partial to doing some of that, but I'm not above using some of the refactor tools from an IDE. And the other thing is the debugger. I'm sure there probably is some kind of debugger maybe for the command line, but I just use the IntelliJ one when necessary. Game Dev Chad, how's it going? Are you using a different PC with SSH plugin? Yes, this is that's another reason I like to use Vim, because you can just SSH into another machine and work on that. Big chunky Visual Studio for me for everything. I used Visual Studio back in the day. Interesting. Even bash scripts? Wow. Yeah, bash is good for low fidelity tasks. Oh, maybe that's the problem. Oh, there it is. That shouldn't happen. Did you see Starship Flight 10 last night? I did not. I saw some clips. I saw some of the clips and images on Twitter. I don't keep track of any of the the flight numbers and stuff, but there's some really crazy. I did see some super impressive clips. Like I don't follow the progress in minute detail, but just stepping back and seeing what they can do now is pretty impressive. Now, why does that still happen? That's really crazy. What's going on? Fun fact, knowledge of Linux depends on the size of your neck beard. That's true. Whenever I grow my neck beard out, I immediately remember more of my Linux commands. And as soon as I shave, I forget them all. I got this. Excellent. I'm starting to grow tired of fixing the same merging transparency issues. So I'll be glad when this issue is done. Do you use QWERTY layout? I'm in the process of learning Colmac. Oh, is that like an alternative layout? Like I've heard of Dvorak layout. Yeah, I use a standard QWERTY layout. I did learn of the Dvorak layout. I thought maybe I should learn that, but it's I did a bunch of research on it. Questioned if I should invest the effort, but it didn't really seem worth it because the keyboard shortcuts are not designed for that. This is a cloud PC. It's actually just a local desktop machine. Oh wow, that's more broken than I expected. Interesting. Huh, wow. Okay. That's not expected at all. Yep, still broken. WSG. How you doing, broski? I'm pretty good. How are you? I can shout out the coolest Linux program. I mean, like, just it's called Hakunio Desktop. Interesting. We love you, Robert. Excellent. It's important to have dedicated fan base. So I appreciate the positive reinforcement. On-demand manga downloader. Interesting. Yeah, I'm sure there's a big among the Linux community. There's a big audience for that. I never got into that stuff at all. I never even watched anime before. Now it should be possible to delete this reference. Hang out. Have an awesome night. Have a good night. All right, that works. shouldn't be possible. Samuel Choa 5366 says, "Hello, Robert. How's it going?" Didn't you do a video about people making suboptimal life choices based on passion or limited experience and wanting to be a YouTuber? Yeah, I think my most recent video about jobs basically covers that topic. But isn't it ironic? You were a YouTuber then? Kind of. I explained that I consider any of those endeavors as like entrepreneurship or building a business. The whole thesis of the video was to not everyone should be an entrepreneur or start a business, or you have to have a lot of resolve and be willing to put up with suboptimal results if you want to pursue that path. Someone has to start the businesses that exist, but it's not for everyone. But people don't usually need to be discouraged from difficult choices. Ergo, people want to be there. To be our musicians and YouTubers fun jobs. I consider YouTube basically an extension of my business. As I started my business 11 years ago. Started writing custom software development stuff. And then the supply of like random odd contract software development, I came to the conclusion that does not exist. So the idea of like getting a lot of people to watch silly videos was never the goal. But when you build a business and then you realize that you're building something, you're building a product, and there's no market for that product, you have to change what the business is selling. You have to adapt to what there's a market for. And there's thousands of young people that want to learn about software development and watch videos about Linux. And the rest is history. If you want to get something that can potentially have lots of customers, you have to target consumers. And among like ordinary consumers, there's basically zero market for software development. And in the business world, it's all it's a lot of like nonsense. There's a lot of nonsense. People pursuing grandiose business ideas that'll never pan out. Oh boy, could that be the final solution? Can you recommend me a Linux book or play with Linux machines? You will eventually learn. Honestly, I don't know any Linux books. I don't think I've ever read a Linux book. I would highly recommend, if you haven't, search for my Robert Elder's favorite Linux command playlist that has over 120 shorts videos. There's a video for every one of the core utils commands. And if you watch all of 120, it took me I made those over a couple of years, and it took me quite a while to make them. They're all less than 60 seconds, so it'd be like a 2-hour watch of all the videos. And if you watch those, you will definitely learn a lot about Linux. Do you ever get burned out or just bored working on a project? Have you figured out a way to combat that? Not quite. I have lots of ideas for what I'd like to add to the project. I guess honestly, it's not super difficult for me to find motivation to work on things. I maybe have some of the opposite problem, that I have too much motivation to work on too many things, and then I end up spending way too much time on them. But I guess I would say one challenge is getting started working on things. That might be the most difficult aspect, because once I start working on it, then I start thinking about it more. Like today, I thought about how I'm going to fix this problem on stream tonight, and it's because it's like fresh in my memory, and I just want to fix this stupid bug so I can do the interesting stuff. And then, but if I go away from this, I'll forget about it, and then I'll probably get sucked into another project, and then the procrastination might set in, where I'm like, I want to keep doing this thing that I'm working on, and it'll be hard to remember the details. But having I guess having the 10 p.m. Stream schedule forces me to think about it every day. It also makes it way more productive, because like I'm the spaced repetition just makes it easier to remember what I did yesterday and what files to look at and stuff. But if I go away from it, then immediately I'm like, productivity. It's like I spend like multiple days just figuring out what the project is. The cat command is my favorite Linux command. The grep command is my favorite Linux command. Yep, I got a whole bunch of those. Wow, it might finally be fixed. Man, that's been so much screwing around to get this stupid multi-layer transparency thing working. But I think I finally have a model that works. And it works with like the incremental updates and multi-threading and man, there's a lot of work in making a multi-threading high efficiency terminal block mining game. I started dev again because I needed something fresh for my portfolio. New job search is a huge motivator. Started dev again. So you took a break from development, or were you laid off at a previous place? I guess I'm curious, because normally if you're a programmer, you don't usually spend a long period where you don't code. I just gotta fix this one. Oh, look at that. Do you like math? Are you good at it? I would say I like math. I'm not good at it, though. That was weird. Let's try that again. That's interesting. Oh, maybe that's just for multi-column characters. Current job doesn't have much programming. More business facing. Kicking legacy systems into working order. Took the job coming off COVID layoff. I think I've seen enough. Okay. Well, I guess it's good to have a bit of a break from programming and go more into the business side of things. The business people are the ones that make all the money. I guess having the business experience may help you out. You can get like a project manager. It'll open you up to maybe more career paths. I will start my own gym. You know, I was thinking the other day. Well, there's a few things to say there. I think the ideal coding place. I would actually like to code in a gym. Like that would be nice to have like weights around me, or to be like just sitting. My coding desk is like I'm sitting on a bench in a gym. And then when I'm like right now I'm like thinking about like how do I do this thing where you want to like instead of just doing this, you could just move over to the weights and like you could do a couple curls and then think about your problem and pace back and forth. That's like an ideal programming environment. I was also thinking, it's kind of strange, or it's almost like it's like an accident of capitalism. Like it makes sense why it would be this way, but to have more balanced like mental and physical health, it would make sense if it was possible to get a job that was like half white collar, or like some fraction of white collar work, and then like so you work like 4 days a week as a software developer, but then you spend 1 day a week like building houses or something. But if you could somehow make that make sense in one workplace, like doing a bit of physical labor actually feels good when you spend all your time sitting. And then when you spend a couple hours doing some labor and you're tired, it's nice to just sit and code for a bit. I think it's really optimal if you can just do a bit of both for a couple hours. And I think it puts you at like maximum productivity because you feel really engaged when you're doing either. And then you don't have to go to a gym afterward, where you pay money and travel to the gym and I went to code on phone with AR glasses while walking the park. Yeah, that'd be nice too. In the future, there was Apple was. Oh yeah, what happened to that? Haven't really heard much about that product that Apple had. Those like AR goggles. I coded C yesterday, made a mistake, and ran an infinite loop. Yeah, same. I just did that right now. Hung the OS and I ran out of memory. Nice. Right, that was what was causing the crash. Well, this is good progress for tonight. That was a very problematic. It's one of those glitches where it's like it's a race condition. It involves race conditions. It's super annoying to fix. And the user experience is terrible. But I think this might be more or less permanently fixed. Which would be great. Every bug is a learning experience. True. But sometimes you make the same mistake over and over again. Orthoplex 64 says good night. Have a good night. Nice. Look at that. Perfectly correct. Very functional application. Oh, look at that. A bug. What do you generally eat for breakfast? Depends what I have around. Often I'll have a cookie and some coffee. Coffee? Actually, this here is tea. Good old-fashioned Earl Grey tea. What about lunch, dinner? There's a place I go to that has like they make food fresh every day. It's like kind of like a I don't know what you call it, like a buffet type. They have like a bunch of trays. You can get like salmon or chicken. I think they have on Tuesday they have like taco bowls. And then like chicken parm next day and stuff. And sometimes they get it fresh, and then they also, whatever's left over, they package it up and take like a couple of bucks off it. So I usually get that. It's cheap and relatively fresh and decently cheap. And it's I don't have to cook all the time. And honestly, it's probably not even that cheaper because you have to buy so much extra, and then you have to worry about expiry dates. Like chai, that's nice. It contains tannin. Interesting, doesn't it? I do drink chai tea sometimes. All right, I think that's probably good for tonight. So we got the pink color scheme supported. I did not work on the top left corner printing. Fix last remaining screen glitches. Fix help menu. Okay, so that's we're getting closer. I think I did fix the really bad race condition. That's huge if that's actually permanently fixed. I hope that never comes back. I fixed that issue in so many number of forms. And then the top left-hand corner test print character. And then once those are done, then I can be on to working on profiling. Good night, Robert. I will code for the rest of my day. Thanks for the motivation. No problem. All right, so we'll leave it there for tonight, and we'll be back tomorrow for day 126. All right, talk to you later.